Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very evening. We are back here at CES. Apologies for the slightly abrupt transition and the slightly abrupt changeover. We had a little bit of a last-minute commentary personnel change. My name's Min Satsford, and today we will be taking you through the lovely Styria Mountains of... we are jumping here today, first off in Quali, getting things started off quick and strong. It's good to be back after the winter break, and it's good to see everyone back on the race course. We've had a little bit of a break to see the holidays through, and hope to those who celebrate you've had a lovely Christmas, or if not, had a lovely winter break and a Merry New Year as well. And I think this is a great way to start off 2026. We're going to be on board with Enzo Sabaton with RSC. First wins out the gates, a P7 in the championship, coming out of Belgium last time. So got a couple of boots to fill. Got a little bit of expectation riding on this one. Now we are early days here, but the important thing is drivers just need to get a solid run down. Careful of those track limits in Sector 3. Those will bite you hard, and stewards take no prisoners. Look like it's going to be an abandon from the Racing Bulls, and that's going to be handing it right over to Lucas Basner in the Tomas Enge sim racing car. So currently running the Aston Martin, currently leading the championship, although it's a tight margin with the SCIs of Isaac Leeds and Gabriel Quintino currently chasing him just 2 points behind. 103.1 is the initial benchmark, immediately leapfrogged by his teammate Scott Holmes with a 103.0. Looking good for both the test cars, but the SCIs are going to be quick to swing back with the first 102 of the evening. Quintino is on his outlap still, so we're not going to see how much his teammate is holding on to things. Here comes Daniel Hope from Azuri Esports, making his way down through the last corners, just invalidating on that penultimate corner there. You see a bit too much rumble strip, and that's it. Absolutely cooked, but did otherwise look on good form as the times are coming through. Initial benchmarks looking at the low threes. And we do have a lot of drivers who retired early out. So both FVR cars have retired out of the session, along with the second TRT car of Damien Curiel. The rest of the field is making their way in time. Here comes Quintino, though, one of the cars to watch as he makes his way out of turn 3. We're going to see what kind of times he can muster. He tries to take it as narrow as he can, get on the inside, just minimize the distance traveled before kicking the car right down, start the downhill. A push is key. Get a time on those boards. You can start chipping away at the tenths as you go, but the most important thing above all else, see how it gets on. Last couple of corners now. Field is looking sharp, but they're going to be a time change. It's 0.04 of a second shy, but the SCIs lead through Quali. First things out the gates, we have a couple of drivers who have yet to set a time. We have both Azuri Esports cars, the ET8 of Finn, and his teammate is up in 4th, so he's got a little bit of standing on shoulders, at least as far as the is concerned. Enzo Sabaton going for a second bite of the cherry after his first attempt didn't quite go to plan. Through the first corner, nice and smooth. Give it all the push as you head through turn 2 and 3. Drivers having to set themselves a decent time here, because I don't know about you, but Quali certainly in those first couple of laps can have a major impact. It affects some tracks more than others. I think Red Bull Ring is right in the middle with that. There certainly is an impact to be had, but it's not as completely detrimental. You haven't got as much initial pressure. You can keep cars, relatively speaking, within close quarters fairly easy on this track. Show us, though, as we've still got 12 minutes on the clock. We've still got quite a few drivers who can show us they're really made of here. Here's Sabaton for RSC. It's a 102.920, new fastest time of the evening. It's a 4-millisecond gap between the two. And with that, a lot of the racers are now on their outlaps simultaneously as everything gets things what for. Now, just trying to fully line up all of the stewards' decisions coming out of round 4. We do have some penalty points being applied to teams coming out. Also, we had an incident between VNT Venturi and TRT. Had a couple of appeals and a couple of incidents. And like we've seen, a couple of drivers hopefully get some new times on the board here tonight. That remains to be seen. See what we've got. Ballas has to show us in that kick salvo right now as he comes to 3. We're going to see Venturi take the top honours with 9 milliseconds shaved off the RSC car's time to 0.911 as the 0.908 comes through from the Tomas Enge sim racing of Scott Holmes. The milliseconds matter here, but we're going to see half a tenth shaved off immediately. It's the TRT of Lawrence Patton. Don't even know what to make of this one, but it's exciting to see some of those lap times get shaved right down. 102.9 coming from Ballas, as that is going to put him into 7th position. We're going to see the last of the field who have yet to set a time. Unfortunately, an invalidation for Finn is going to see him have to take yet another tour of the circuit, similar to Ryan Modler. Both cars invalidating, not setting a time this round. The Azuri Esports cars as well. Both of them in the pit lanes as currently stand. Tom Wolfgram coming up to the line. 2.962. He's just going to pip Quintino and split the SCI cars. He holds on to 7th place and really starting to push the boundaries there. The IRT team does need a little bit of a mulligan here because they're not doing so hot as far as standings are concerned. 4 drivers remain to set times. Yeah, I really do like some of the livery variations, of course. They're getting a chance to throw some of the commemorative liveries, the special liveries on the cars here. And you never really appreciate, say, the special liveries sometimes until you get to see them back after a long hiatus. And you get to almost appreciate them again for the first time. Liveries make or break a car. You can visually change the entire characteristic of that machine. F1 cars are very bulky things. They're not as light and nimble as our eyes are tricked to believe. That's clever use of colours, livery design. Do a lot of legwork to make these cars look good. I think if you just had a one solid body colour Formula 1 machine, you'd really see how much mass these cars actually carry. Let's see what these races have to go on. Sabaton is back out on a lap. Jonas Orpel getting a 102.9 flat as we have about 7.5 minutes left in qualifying here. I'm curious to see how this mid-pack battle goes down. We have FVR, RSC and Zuri all fighting within a space of just about 10 points. ETA is going to be leading that charge with 71 points and then Zuri down to with 60. But it is quite a tightly fought mid-pack here. Good to see everyone coming out tonight as well as a Quintino. The SCI going in .747, smashing yet another 10th off the current lead. Beautiful stuff right there. And we're going to see who else has got what it takes. Now it's about 6 minutes left. Who's going to stand on the throne? We've seen this happen a couple of times. We have seen him go from, say, a rough opener. Can he turn it around? We're going to see the Azuri cars also get some times on the board, which is pleasant to see. Daniel Hope with a 102.9 and a 135 for Bieka. Biekazik, if I've got that right. 2.752. Very impressive there from Enzo Sabaton. 0.005 between the RSC and the SCI Alpine up in front. 6 minutes left to go. And the field is looking mighty dense as we get on with this session here. Simon Engel, 7 plates for Venturi. 0.911. We're going to really see a 102.8 be the optimal time. I think that's going to be one that secures a good spot, or at least certainly in the upper mid-pack. That's what drivers have really got to aim for at this point in time. I think we'll see a lot more drivers push and try and really grab into the .7s or even further potentially, but right now it's just securing solid times. We just saw Ryan Modler come across the line. We're going to see as well Finn get a slight improvement up to a 3.0, but we are still going to have a lot left on the table here. Driver's got a lot left to give. I'm just curious to see who gives us a real surprise. Hopefully, get a bit of fireworks. Simon Engel coming up to the line soon. What is he going to have in quality cake? Actually, is backing off a little bit. Never mind, that's not going to be a full attempt here. Looks like a lot of drivers at this point are on cooldown laps, getting themselves set up for their final runs. Already see a lot of them have headed into the pit lane. Are just going to see their cooldown laps before getting into fighting form for the last time here at Austria qualifying. If you're here supporting any particular team, make sure you give them a bit of love in that live chat as we come to the closer of qualifying here. A lot rides on this. We're coming back from the winter break. We're coming into a new year and hopefully some reinvigorated spirits. A little bit of a break from competition. Time for, not just as drivers, but as people, a little bit of a reset. It's done everyone good. But gonna see, ooh, there's a Haas coming out right in front of Christoph as he makes his way out of the pit lane. Looks like that is going to be first out of the gates. That's going to be Daniel Hope. 102.9, currently looking at hopefully getting a 102.8. A mid-8 would slot them in quite nicely and give them a fighting chance to take the lead on that mid-pack battle. Let's hopefully see what we can do here, but as everyone's just trying to get into the heat in those tyres. Into the heat in those tyres. That was a real sentence with words I said just. Getting it all up and ready for best qualifying that one can muster. The question remains. For a lot of teams, this is your inflection point. This is the stage of the season where a lot of drivers are having to consider and really pay heed to where they're going to land at this stage in the calendar. Of course, we've got 12 rounds here. We're on round 5 now. But there is a lot to be said about who is going to come out on the top. And getting to that halfway point, you start to crystallize if you are a fighter at the front of the pack, or if you are in the mid or maybe lower section of those standings. 10 teams have got a lot to prove. And if you're going to go for any last-minute swings and upsets in the order, now is a good time to really set that foundation. Here's going to be Daniel Hope. We're sticking on board with him as we stayed with him for the opening lap, the out lap. See what type of time he can get. Decent lines, a bit of a rearward kick, but looking very rough there. Going to have to back off. I don't think he necessarily considered how much that car was willing to bite him. And that has really sort of come to punish by the end of it all. You can see Sabaton come around the outside. There is going to be Scott Holmes just on his outlap ahead of him. Oh, looks like there's an invalidation at the very end of the lap for Sabaton, though. Brutal end to what was otherwise a very smooth performance here. Enge, of course, going to give it a good shot, and he's going to get a 2.816. Beautiful stuff there. So both the Venturi Esports cars are going to be setting this one solid, as the Azuri Esports car of Daniel Hope is going to retire from the session. Interesting turn of events there, as we're going to see a few more racers now make their way through and up to the line. Ryan Modler is going to retire as well. So, a couple of drivers who have solidified their positions and clearly reached a point where they are happy. Beisner comes up to the line, and it's a .763. It's a minor improvement, but it's not enough to get onto that front row, and that is probably a real kicker for the Tomas Enge sim racing driver here. Just a 100th more, it would have been up on top. But meanwhile, Scott Holmes, his teammate, is going to fly the flag and really show his might as a .675. And that is going to be a half-tenth ahead. Next closest rival, which is Quintino, having just come off of a hot lap. And that is qualifying as good as done. He's invalidated. Quintino cannot snatch up the last morsels of a pole position. But what could be said about his teammate here? Is Isaac Leet? Is there going to be a chance here? No. Heads into the pit lane. That's game over. Any last-minute improvements from any of the racers here? We're going to see Finn come through for ET8. Going to be heading into the pit lane as well. There's no improvement. Best he's going to get is a P15. But what is Jonas Orpel going to get? 0.890 to beat. Anything in the mid-8s would be good. It would be quite an improvement. And unfortunately, it's just shy of where he wanted to be. So last couple of cars making their way through. Second Azuri Esports car making his way to the pits. And that is going to be as good as time, ladies and gentlemen. So, with all that being said, this is quite an interesting quali stack. I wasn't expecting this kind of range and these kind of times. I'm not really sure what's happening with the teams tonight, but this doesn't quite seem like the qualies. Doesn't seem like the qualies we had in mind here tonight, folks. Although there is a very valid argument in the chat, having come out of Christmas, everyone is carrying a bit of extra ballast now. There is a little bit of extra ballast that the drivers are going to have to consider. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. No artificial ballast needed here, but there is your qualifying come out. So it's Scott Holmes alongside Gabriel Quintino in the first row, Sabaton and Beisner in row 2. The Venturi cars of Modler and Engel in row 3, TRT, Lawrence Patton and Isaac Leet in P8. Finishing your top 10 is Orpel and Hope, and then the rest of your drivers we briefly see on screen before the very aggressive timer is going to show us out. And there we have it at least. Now, unfortunately, Zabby's camera has magically appeared, but that is not what we want to do there, folks. So, unfortunately, camera isn't quite working. For those who don't know, we had a last-minute commentary team change. And for lack of a better term, that didn't give me a chance to set the camera up in time. So, going to have to be, unfortunately, cameraless today. And see what the race holds for us. But quite a qualifying session there, as to be said, and I was very impressed with the drivers and everything that they brought to the table tonight. I'm going to say, it's not the times that I think some of us were expecting, but even so, they were fighting in very close contention, and all of the racers are in a big, heated challenge, as they will be soon getting themselves around. Now, we are going to be heading to an intermission, folks, in a short moment. When we come back, we are going to be headed over to the full race. The grid is set, the stage is set, the drivers are going to have to give it their A game, but more than anything, I just want to see how hard they're willing to fight. This second half of the season that's coming up is going to be quite the battle zone. So any chance to get an advantage here in round 5 is crucial, and Austria is the place to do it. But with that being said, folks, we'll take that short intermission and we'll be right back with you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And what is that I see right in front of us than the heavens opening? It's raining here in Austria, and things are about to turn out very differently than I think a lot of the drivers were expecting it. Of course, everyone's qualied in the dry, everyone's mentally primed for it, but here we are in the pouring rain. Wow. I mean, the drivers are gonna certainly have their work cut out for them. In terms of, I mean, that could actually explain why we saw a bit of a deference in the times on the quali here. Maybe they were priming for a more intermediate or wet setup. Who knows? Either way, it's going to be a good race out there tonight. I am certainly looking forward to it. Just going to... Oh, that is not meant to do that. Is going to be where things start to get a little bit more exciting. Of course, if you're... I know we said this before, but if you're looking forward to seeing any driver out on track or any team out on track, if you're supporting any particular outfit race course tonight, make it known. I've seen some support from quite a few different teams. Let us know if you think that you have any ideas on who's going to win tonight, who's hoping to take home that trophy. Set the precedent here for out of places like Belgium, Texas, Japan. Quite an eclectic mix of tracks, and while this track is visually simple on the surface, the undulation and elevation changes along with tighter, high-speed technical, that's what really gives this track a little bit of character. I say, unfortunately, the drivers maybe did suffer from a little bit of ballast issues coming out of the winter break. Christmas din-dins are going to be aplenty, and even now, leftovers be wreaking havoc on the weighbridge. But maybe a little bit of increased curb weight could help out with some wet weather stability. Yeah, we are just waiting for everyone to apply their setups and everyone's good. I'm going to quickly check that internally communications are solid. Fine. Drivers. Okay, so it looks like we are all good to go. Not having any issues. I think we're just waiting for final applications and setups and for everyone to be ready to go properly. Final couple of cars and here we go. 3, 4, 5 red lights. The track is hot for round 5, and away we go. Immediate set off, and it's a quick one here as everyone tries to struggle and scramble for traction. It's going to be Scott Holmes who gets the early jump. Ryan Modler is also going to go for a little bit of a side-by-side with Basner on the inside of turn 1, also looking to get a bit of an early jump on the situation. There's going to be mist, and there's going to be spray everywhere on this course. Drivers are going to have to be uber careful. There's already a bit of bumping coming out of turn 3. You can see the chaos unfolding, particularly at the lower mid-pack. That's Finn getting a pinch as there are multiple cars trying to occupy the same space at turn 3. No one's going to get out of there easy, but back up to the front. We do see a bit of a dart down the inside as that's going to be Basner fighting hard for his P4. We're going to see Enge being down in P8 here. He's dropped a couple of positions coming out of the third corner. And Holmes is just trying to keep things on the straight and narrow here. You can see He's managed to get a bit of a half-second break. He won't have DRS at his disposal. He will have a bit of breathing room that he's going to have to find essential. Reisner getting overtaken around the outside as Modler's going to get things settled into the final sector. That lateral grip is everything. Dirty Air could be affecting things even more at the cost of visibility. He will have Isaac and Finn both heading into the pits for an early jump in, and looks like they're going to be getting some new front wings right from the jump. Of course, can't be affording any risks, and they use the ancient front wing cloning techniques in order to get double layers of carbon for increased rigidity. Back up on the racing circuit, we're going to see coming out of turn 3, there's a bit of a drag race happening. There's Patton and Hope going side by side, TRT VAZR, and the both of them are going to have to really consider where they're placing their cars. Hope tucks in behind, but peeks to the right side, once again trying to bait him into an unfavourable line. Almost getting a chance for the counter, but isn't able to make it land. Games recommending extreme wets, but as we all know, extreme wets are not real. They don't exist. They can't hurt you. And with that, it looks like a lot of drivers are trying to find a little bit of settling now. It looks like Lawrence Patton having a bit of trouble keeping that Mercedes on a leash, as Weisner is going to be side by side with him in P5. The two duke it out. Briefly looking like he was losing control there, luckily holding it together nicely. Quintino with the fastest lap of the session thus far, and trying to close the gap best he can to the Tomas Enge sim racing driver. Wolfgram with IRT heading into the pits right now, so looks like he might be having a front wing change as well. Yes, in fact, that is the case. Fresh carbon on that front, and quickly getting back out to the action. Unfortunately, conditions like this, you cannot afford damage. You see the lockup from Orpel just trying to avoid any and all contact with other cars, as there's a 2x2 of Klein and Bieda coming out of turn 3. Both of them really trying to eke each other's space out, hold on to the line as closely as they can, not wanting to take off a bit more than they can chew. Tiniest of bumps on the rear diffuser for the Red Bull, but that's not going to deter him, as he immediately manages to pull a few crucial tenths gap heading out of Sector 2. Couple cars trying to catch up to things, that one being Quintino. He's been chipping away at the last couple of tenths on this lap, and lap 3 of 36, things are looking promising. If he can keep this running, keep this going, as Pan gets a mighty cut in on the apex of turn 10. If Quintino can hold this pace up as he sets another fastest lap, would be within a chance of fighting at the front and fighting for first place within the next couple of laps. We are going to see one of the Haas cars. That is Daniel Hope going very wide out of the corner. Although, just a miscalculation. Luckily, no damage, at least visually present. Going to quickly get back on course to defend from Lorenz in P7. Tamas Kokeni and Jonas Orpel trading places coming out of turn 3. Is there going to be an encounter from McLaren? He is holding on best he can. Bit of slipstream plus battery. Going to draw in Jonas a little bit closer, but he's not going to be able to get that spot, at least not for now. Test SCI RSC looking like three teams at the top of the order now. Surprised that we're not seeing a bit of a stronger performance from Titan Reztec. They're third in the standings, but they're currently 7th and 14th, so hopefully a bit of a bounce back in the second half of the race is on the cards for them. Daniel Hope getting the fastest lap of the session now and push that Haas a little bit further. They found his comfort, found his happy place. Now it's time to really open the taps a little bit more. Going to be a bit of an uphill battle at this stage. The drivers have settled in. We see a big divergence in space on the course. On Wolfgram using his second pack of cars, if you will, to establish a new fastest and start to try and peel back some time. One can only hope that they'll use that early pit stop to try and claw back a little bit through having some. But when you have Leert, Wolfgram and Finn all together in that close proximity, good chance they'll fight. That is not going to be ideal for them. We're going to see Curiel and Klein going side by side, heading into the third sector. Something's got to give here, as that's the Mercedes just squeezing ahead, going into the final corners. That was a very close call there. So Damien could have ended in disaster if he was just 1/2 tenth further behind. A mighty holds on to it for now. Will Klein get a second bite of the cherry? Let's see. Trying to hold in spray as much as one can, closing the distance through the brakes. Getting quite close, but it's all about how quickly you can get back on the throttle, and that was a very clean line from Damien there, able to squeeze out another 10th in distance between the two. The order is getting a little bit more spread out now. We're starting to see two major packs alongside the bottom three, with Jonas Orpel kind of splitting the middle. Right in the middle of this turbo hybrid pack of cards. Tomas Kokeni racing down on Simon Enge. Holmes with the new fastest and being up in the lead. He's really got to start pushing that time out. I think the one worry that might be on his mind here is if the weather does change, if it does start getting dry again and he's within DRS range, Quintino could reel him in very easily. Have to be very smart with his resource management to compensate. Coming in very close. He's going to swing it to the inside. Late on the brakes. Even a little bit of lock-up heading into turn 3. Immediate switchback from Engel, punishing the overcommittance. But a good exit from Tomas Kokeni is going to deny such a switchback from happening. He's going to quickly cover off the inside. Beautiful recovery there from the Red Bull. Holds it together very nicely. Despite the slip up and the late lunge, he's still going to hold on and retain the position. So, way to turn it around. Ref VR here. Done run here. Dima clapping at home. A bit further up, Ryan Modler chasing onto Enzo Sabaton right now. Trying to close the gap as quick as he can. A little bit of a wider run here from Sabaton could spell opportunity. Looks like a little bit of deployment. Battery has kept him at bay, kept him around that half-second range. Gonna have to get any meaningful slipstream. Just enough to serve resources. Still peeling back a little bit of time, especially as we head into turn 3. You can see trying to close in, but getting on that throttle earlier, straightening up faster. That's the name of the game here. It's getting the new fastest time of the session. That lower pack as well could be heating up, but we'll check in on them in a moment. Right now, Modler's getting very close as we come out and into that sort of second sector. So coming up to the end of sector 2 and now 3. Going to see the Ferrari actually make a little bit of contact on the rear quarter as the two go side by side into sector 3. Now the two make the slightest of contacts, and that is going to be almost a little bit of a concession in terms of space. He's having to reel himself back in here and yield the position back. I think he's sort of worried that he doesn't want any unnecessary stewarding action. But that has had an unintended consequence. Look at the cars behind. You're not just talking about Modler anymore. We're talking about Beisner. We're talking about Hope. We're talking about Patton. All in the wake. It's all there. Everyone is now going to be chomping at the bit for these positions. We have got a whole gaggle of cars from P3 down, and they're all going to be hungry for some new positioning. It's Wolfgram is going to be getting the first of the penalties of the session here. 3 seconds for track limits, multiple warnings.
And that is hopefully not a sign of things to come. A couple of trades a little bit further down. Is firmly trained on where the action is. Let's see. Christoph, can he get a little bit of pushback? Going to have it swing around the outside as the Azuri Esports cars just holding him to the outer edge. A little bit of rough innings there. A bit of contact between the two. Not sure if an EB is going to be too happy with that. Sabaton, meanwhile, still on the defense. Holding the line as best as one can. Feeling a little bit under threat. The Azuri Esports of Daniel Hope is going to be hot on his heels. Behind the flag of the team Wells, getting a little bit further ahead as his teammate. The 3 seconds. Second penalty being hit from the stewards. Multiple back on. It's easy to lose the car in conditions like this, but you can't be overzealous with it. As they're getting yet another fastest time, and I think he's certainly leveraging that increased space well in order to peel back what few seconds he can. Much tighter to the apex than the races ahead of him. A little bit of a kick on the rear from Modler as he's trying to get on the throttle as soon as possible. Keep his opponents at bay. It is going to be a send here for Hope as he throws his car down the inside at the end of Sector 2, heading into Sector 3 now. He's managed to secure it as Vesna takes a wider line, leaves himself open and is now under threat of his own as Lawrence Patton is going to be right on his tail. Stick on board with Hope though for the minute as he's going to be making potentially not 1 but 2. He gets very close to the back of Ryan Modler. A little bit of a wobble on the rear axles, unfortunately going to kill the momentum that he had heading into lap 11 here. Crucial momentum squandered, sadly. Tomas Kokini. Up turn 3. Going to be getting a nose in, and he's going to go way too hot there. He's going to practically sideswipe Lawrence Patton as he comes out of turn 3. I know that the TRT car's not going to be happy with that one. They're practically fuming. Absolutely fuming, I tell you. Tomas is going to be paying dearly for that mistake, not only conceding a chance at keeping proximity with the likes of Bresner, Hope, etc., but also under his own threat. Simon Engel, spotting the mistake, really reeled him in and is trying to seize the day. We're about a third of the way through the race at this point, folks, and things are looking just as exciting as the start. We can see Lucas and Rene going through the motions as they come out of Sector 2. A little bit of back and forth. It is going to be the RSC car that takes the front spots. The IRT cars gravitating to the back of the order. So we'll have to see what happens with Wolfgram. As remember, he is a pit stop down, so it's not exactly ball for ball. Back up at the front though, Quintino has managed to peel away a couple of crucial tenths for a split second, although he has been tailed off at the end of turn 3. He's still very much fighting for the spot as hard as he can. I don't know really what Quintino can do at this point. He's just keeping as close as he can for the time being and trying to remain consistent. I think overthinking it can get you in a lot of trouble. More than anything, just making sure got a cool head, running things smooth, and not going to be trying to make rash decisions, trying to gain tenths that are ultimately too risky. We'll see that gap expand to over a second now. It's going to cross that line, albeit not for long. Actually managing to pull up a little bit of time back. Venturi Esports cars are drawing in on their competitors on Tomas Kokini in P8 and Enzo Sabaton in P3 respectively. So we'll see how things are going on with them. I'm an Engel. Trying to keep an eye on Tomas Kokini. He's known for the turn 3 lunge. Not going to see 3 for 3, but is going to see half a second between the two of them. Now, I think for the two Astons, for Holmes and Braisner, a lot rests on their shoulders. They need to place better overall than the SCI cars. Isaac Leit's doing a really good job of pulling back time and actually managing to start catching up to some cars who have yet to take stops. In fact, if we look, you can see the time gap is waning to the Onibi of Christoph, despite being an entire stop down. Real testament to the pace there. They are continuing to push as much as they can. So we're going to see Tomas try and break the toe, steal away that crucial 10th of speed. We go down the start-finish straight, once again trying to go slightly offline. Whether that's to keep temps under control, whether that is to break slipstream, we'll have to only speculate. As the Ferrari draws in that ever bit closer. Braisner likewise going right to the inside of the course, hoping to completely break any chance of a toe. Despite Patton being almost an entire second away, you can't be too careful. Enough running like this, although the rain is still coming down, there is a dry line starting to form. It is going to be a bit of a balancing act, shall we say. Balancing act to consider when you have the dry line forming, increased grip, but also the risk of increased temperatures. Got to keep those tyres in the best operating window, otherwise you may see yourself in a little bit of trouble. He's going to try as he might. Pull in and catch up to Hope. Can't really get in much of a slip, but they can see the top cars ahead of them. They Sabaton leading that queue in P3. A little bit of grass as a wobbly exit from the corner there. See Sabaton now on the defense. Riddler is nipping and getting ever so slightly closer. Now within only a couple of tenths of a second. Get to the halfway mark of the race. Lucas is going to be getting a hit from the penalties and the stewards here. So third car of the night. Be hit with track limits. Not looking good there. Bit unfortunate. The Sabaton's actually managed to pull some time out here. Action down as we do see cars once again trying to break the toe from each other. Multiple races in it to fight for the same space of track. There's Braisner still going on the slightly offline. Keeping temperatures low. Compensating for the fact they do tend to throw the car, give it a little bit of slip angle, relying on that rear stability to keep that car planted. A bit more of a rearward aero bias, maybe. If you can keep your rear a bit more planted in conditions like this, you will have a lot easier of a time controlling and wielding the car. Getting the power down becomes a lot less of an issue with it. You want a lighter back end if you want to rotate quickly and keep that front end alive, but never always worth it when you are playing a tiptoe ballerina with a race car. Wet weather just exacerbates that. Braisner now under a bit of siege as Patton and Kokeni both are going to be closing in relatively soon. Tom Wolfgram getting another fastest time, but interestingly at the back of the grid as well, Isaac Liet is going to be going for a overtake potentially on Christoph. We see Kokini and Patton go side by side here. Do them drag racing, coming out turn 3, heading into the second sector of the track in full. The Mercedes is going to be on the back foot now, getting very close to the back of that Red Bull once again. Almost as if to play off Groundhog. That is going to be a scene that he's seen before. Will the story play out differently? Kokini and Patton still keeping each other close, still within a couple of crucial tenths of a second. You can see Tomas Kokini darting out and then in again. Once again, trying to break the toes we've seen in so many drivers past. He's actually going to be following in Beisner's now. Going to be trying every trick in the book to keep Patton at bay, and actually it's worked quite well. He's had a very solid sector 3. He managed to pull quite a bit of time out, over half a second. Christoph's going to be heading into the pits as it's overtaken by the lower cars in the lobby. I'm super impressed with Sabaton at the moment, though. He's got this race effectively, despite not even being in P1. It's like he controls the race. He's got these cars just queuing up behind him. And he's taken full control of the track. Quintino and Holmes are, for the lack of a better term, they're running off with it. They're running off with it at this point in time. We are halfway through the race, and Sabaton is over 12 seconds. But look at the way he's just able to hold all of these racers behind him and just control this field. Done an immaculate job holding the line, and even if his teammate is in 14th with a penalty to claim, Sabaton with a strong, firm grip. Have a couple of battles brewing behind. Look at that. Look at that queue in the background. Everyone rocks up through turns 2 and 3 into sector 2 now. The beautiful showing. Is anyone going to be able to break rank within the next few laps or so? The way things currently stand, Sabaton is going to be holding all of these cars. Going to be talked about races. I'm going to use this compacting of the field to their advantage. Holmes is going to set yet another fastest time. That's creeping down to a 13.5 since the start of the race. It's a mighty showing from an car. And Beisner is, interestingly, a bit of a change of events, is going to head into the pits. That's going to drop them right down. And we'll put them in keeping with quite a few other cars, as Seafox Vallas, Lucas, and Arena Klein all heading into the pits. The pets of cars keep their way through the pit lane. Question is, where and when will they come out? It and Wolfgram are actually going to come out ahead here. Remember, they took pit stops basically on lap 1 or 2, so it's pretty much set that they are going to have to come back in again at some point, unless they are eking out to the very end of the line. They're over halfway through now. Massive deluge of cars heading into the pits as there's 6 multiple races. Beisner's going to get 3 seconds. That's a real shame there. Brutal for him. Things were looking like you're going well. He's going to be able to pull that one back. Sabaton comes out first of the pits. Everyone getting pretty much perfect pit stops, give or take a 10th. Sabaton's back on the field. He's going to slot in right in front of Baesner. And Motor's going to actually be stuck behind the Aston now as well. Wolfgram's going to be further up ahead, but just remember what we said about that early pit stop. There's a good chance he'll have to go in one more time. Unless this is the most potent reverse sweep of all time. Holmes is going to head into the pits, which is going to concede the lead of the race on track to Gabriel Quintino. And that creates an interesting dichotomy here. Is there going to be any kind of overcut coming here from the SCI car? Is he going to jump in next lap? Or could we see him try and eke that out even further? We've only got 5 cars remaining to take the pit. Make that 4, as Lawrence Patton has just headed in himself. There's a lot riding on these next couple of laps. 13 seconds, how did that happen? Here we go there, Lawrence Patton. He's sweeping away through. Scott Holmes on the chase. Simon Engel just up ahead of him. Holmes can come out of this one. Engel on the back foot here as it looks like he's sliding and struggling ever so slightly. Now, Holmes is on fresh inters. Holmes is going to have much more mechanical grip and a lot stronger of an advantage. Engel, who's one of the last bastions of the original tyre set. Looks like he's going to be darting into the pits though, as is a couple of other cars on this field, I have no doubt. Here comes Engel though. That's going to be joining Tomas Kokini and Jonas Orpel in the pit lane. Scott Holmes is going to be behind, but only one driver yet to take a pit stop. And Quintino is going to be that driver. Wolfgram's actually pushed up to the 4. Well, let's see what this ends up boiling into. We're going to see a lot of battles coming out of that pit lane, just as we see right now. There's Mola right beside a familiar face. That's Tomas Kokini once again coming out and coming out swinging. Two of them really going to give it absolutely everything, tooth and nail. Kokini got back behind, but we have seen this in the past. So where Tomas Kokini has fallen back, he has gone for a bit of a send into turn 3, for lack of a better term. Hopefully that doesn't result in any issue. We're going to see Tom Wolfgram going for a second pit stop here as Quintino has just come out from a pit stop likewise and slots himself back behind Scott Holmes now with 1.2 seconds to his name. So a slight deficit. Despite roughly identical pit stop times, there's actually a bit of a deficit as we have a DNF from Pierre Karzik in the Esports car. So that's first and hopefully only retirement of the session, as we're 2/3 of the way through this race at current timing. It's looking like some of our top drivers are really showing their stuff here at tonight's competition. And there's going to be plenty more where that came from in the remaining 12 laps that follow. Esner, for example, despite those 3 seconds, not going to hesitate to make the most of his current position. On the back of Sabaton, he's still challenging, and Sabaton is still holding. Right, what looks like every pressure in the world, he refuses to yield. close and almost screaming as he's trying to get on the throttle as soon as possible. Oh, really pushing it to his limits, and even you can see the amount of slip angle and the amount of rotation that he pulls into that corner. Ballas, a little bit of a back and forth. Let's just check in on how this back end is doing now. And looks like we've got quite the condensed set of races. Quintino has pulled a ton of time away from Scott Holmes, though. He's set a new fastest, and he has really reeled that Aston in. Beautiful night of racing, that's for sure. This field really push. But oh, there's a contact on the rear quarters. Ballas and Klein. Two of them come together, but it's going to be actually the Williams, the IRT car that comes out on top of this one, as Isaac Leeds and Finn are also going to joust a little bit further up ahead. It's a tyre hook and it's a spin. That's going to be a brutal hit on the inside wall there for Enge Klein. That looks like that is going to be actually... Is that a full safety car? That's an SC. That is an SC, ladies and gentlemen. The yellow has appeared on the track, and all of a sudden, this race dynamic has flipped on its head. 22 seconds effectively nullified between the racers, and with that, a mad dash to the pit lane, as all the leaders, no doubt, are going to be wasting zero time getting those cars up to snuff. Now, how many drivers are going to chance it? How many drivers are going to try and stay out here and see if they can get their car all the way to the end? I don't know if anyone is going to take that risk necessarily. We're going to see maybe a couple of cars try their luck. Looks like we are actually going to have a bit more than we thought, as we have got a new order starting to emerge from the ashes of the safety car. First and second, they're the names we know. It's Holmes and Quintino. But in third place, staying out, opting for a bit of a switcheroo, and on fairly young tyres, I don't blame him, is going to be Tomas Kokeni. Simon Engel following not too far behind, along with Zalan Bieda, Damien Curiel, Jonas Orpel, Enzo Sabaton in now P8. They heading into the pits. And all of a sudden, the turned table. Back behind the safety car now. See everyone going to be soon bunching up, getting back into close quarters here. Mine has been almost given a saving grace here, because that front wing in any other circumstances, if that was strewn into the grass, Stewart would be jumping, picking that right up, right away. But the rain and the other conditions have almost afforded a second chance. Time to peel things back in. I think we're going to see a lot of back and forth between these races. Everyone's heading behind the safety car now. Looks like we're, if all goes to plan, in racing form by the time we start lap 29, and then it's going to be a 7-lap shootout. Did I say more accurately, say maybe a 7 and a bit or 8-lap shootout to the end of this race. Things have shaped up pretty interestingly in quite a short fraction of time. I gotta say, I don't get a chance to broadcast here with the Driveline team for CES very often, but it has been a pleasure, say, stepping in for Max, who unfortunately had to step out last minute due to a bit of an issue, a bit of an emergency, so hope he's doing well. But really been enjoying the racing here so far and bringing it to the channel. Looks like we're going to go for one lap longer, although Finn has had a bit of an issue because they have managed to get themselves into the grass and have dropped themselves right back down behind. Looks like the line is forced to practically stop dead on the track in order to give the position back. And we are going to be having one more lap, so it's lap 30. We are going to be getting back to racing conditions, contrary to prior belief. Getting in soon. Full reformation. Just waiting on a couple of stragglers. Looks like they are catching up now on at the back of the queue. The safety car now peeling in, and this is where it gets spicy. We're gonna have quite the wait. Finn is on hards. Why is Finn on hards? That's not how this works. It's still raining, and Holmes is gonna get a quick getaway, and Quintino is gonna be left unawares. I see a quick jump from the Aston Martin. And immediately, we're going to see the fireworks fly. Two of them up ahead, still at the edge of the pack, and they're going to be giving absolutely everything but save. Enge stuck in the middle. Tomas in P3. This is going to be on quite the show. We've got a mix of old tyres, new tyres, unpenalised, freshly penalised. Massive, massive chaos in the mid-pack as we go through turn 3. Opel dropped down multitudes of positions, having washed wide at the top of the corner, having to reintegrate just ahead of now behind. And all bit of ping-pong between the cars. Christoph is caught unawares. There's multiple fender benders and multiple collisions around the course. Wolfram is going to get dropped down a peg. Sabaton and Modler is going to go through it, and side by side as Christoph's going to drop positions multiple times over. Is hemorrhaging position and hemorrhaging time. Are we going to see if there's any damage? Doesn't look like there's any visual damage, but Elliott is going to be also posting his car on the inside. That Alpine getting very comfortable with the inside and the back of that Williams right there. Going to be a chaotic start to this one here. It's a very chaotic start to the race. We have Besner and Lucas going for a drag race coming out of turn 1. The Aston's just up ahead, but is there going to be any room for a counter-attack coming out from Lucas? He's going to go to the inside, and a little bit of a squeeze on the left as there's banging of the tyres. The two fighting for room, tooth and nail, side by side, 2 by 2. I know it's raining. Noah would be proud, but this is chaotic, to put it mildly. Lucas still on the back of Besner, and the three at the top still in close proximity, but managing to actually peel away from the rest of the field by and large. 1.3 seconds between Engel and Kokeni. It's going to be a tough margin to overcome with about 5 laps to go. Opel on the defense, having multiple positions lost since the start of this final segment, and under the threat of losing more. It's a tough battle for the McLaren as Curiel is on the back of Zalan Bieda, the second FVR car on the course. FVR having a very good turnout from tonight, 3rd and 5th at present, and certainly going to be walking away with a nice haul of points that could supercharge them towards the top half of this championship table. Will certainly, at present, put them ahead of T8, who haven't had a good time here tonight really at all. 13th and 19th I think it's going to be a round to forget for the outfit as they are holding on, at least for now, to that P5. Kurel still chasing on the back of Pieta as hard as he can. Modler is going to be closing in fairly hot as there will be a key opportunity in these next couple of laps to snap a position with minimal chance of a counter-attack. The only problem is that it's Sabaton is dealing with. It's the only problem here. The linchpin in the whole plan is that he's having to play with the king of defense this race, especially in the wet. Come alive like wouldn't believe. Sabotage so close then. There's multiple chances for the races to really get a little bit shaky. Was shaking down the other. Is going to be very close to an opportunity here as they got Curiel a little bit closer to Zeliet is going to be on the inside and Tom Wolfgram as the two of them go through. It's a little bit shaky, but Sabaton's going to get 3 seconds. Multiple cars getting 3 seconds in the dying moments of the race. That's a brutal wake-up call as Sabaton's just decided, right, brakes off. No more Mr. Nice Car. I got 3 seconds. Let's make something happen. He goes side by side, immediately challenging on Zalan Viedo as they're darting it around left to right and vice versa. It's a big bump there between the two. Viedo's forced to take a very deep cut and in the end is going to slide behind Sabaton following that contact, barely holding it against Modler as he regains control. It's tough innings and close quarters. Multiple racers are going to be in close proximity. Field is going to be coming to a tight close here. Don't know where the field is going to be by the end of all of this. One thing I do know for sure that we will be seeing those last minute shots. If anyone's going to take a parting shot at a position, if Quintino wants to challenge for this lead, he's got to do it and got to do it now. Running out of time. There isn't the time to spare. Close chance. The rest of the field is starting to space down. A lot of drivers have consigned themselves to their fates, but Quintino, still you can see he's giving it as much as he can. On to the last lap now. Last chance. Will come down to this. It's a one false move. Quintino steals the position back. Everything into this attack. He darts it to the inside. He gets very close. It's going to be a chance here, but it's going to be a squeeze for naught, at least not yet anyway. Those fog lights flashing like nobody's business. There's a yellow. There is chaos happening as there is going to be carbon fiber from Modler's front wing strewn across the apex of turn 3. It's going to be a last-minute mad run for everyone to try and get the best out of this. Patton missing an end plate, but not missing any fighting spirit. Despite that, they ultimately is going to have to concede the position, is missing crucial wing elements, but one driver has held firm and held his own throughout this entire competition, and his name is Scott Holmes. He brutally takes everything that was swung his way. He gets the fastest lap to finish. I think that is the perfect end for the Tomas Enge sim racing driver. What a show. Immensely impressive driving. Lovely stuff. We'll say we are going to see penalties start to hit and come into effect where applicable. We're going to see there's actually Quintino's been dumped down to P4 after everything, and that is going to be... Oh, Finn is going to be having a little bit of a slidey memento as he gets the car under control towards the end of the race. Tomas Kokeni, that is a turnaround. Can I just say P19 to P2. What a insane turnaround for the Red Bull car. I don't quite believe this. That is ridiculously massive. Effectively done a last to first. Don't even know what to say. I don't even have a... I don't even have a witty comeback. That was just a seriously impressive showing from the drivers. But that is where tonight's round. Most important thing is that we are soon to be heading into the second half of quite exciting turnaround time. Yes, next week it's going to be Great Britain, but for now, your final results here at Austrian Grand Prix is going to be Scott Holmes taking top honours for Tomas Enge Sim Racing, followed by FBR Campeonatos Tomas Kokeni and Venturi Esports Simon Engel in third place. Following that, you have Quintino for Xanadu Cedars Igniters, Damien Curiel in fifth position, and that is going to TRT outfit. Then you see Alan Bieda, Enzo Sabaton, Isaac Leach, Jonas Orpel, Daniel Hope with your top 10. Reisner, Modler, Klein, Patton, Ballas, Wolfgram, Christoph, Finn. That's with second. Azuri Esports car, unfortunately not making it. But there we go, folks. That is where we draw things to a close for today. So we've got the got the placeholder cam just for the time being. So the little logo placeholder. Unfortunately, couldn't get the logo, well, couldn't get the camera still working in the background, but it has been an absolute pleasure to broadcast for you tonight. It really has been a spectacular night of racing, and I couldn't be more thankful for the opportunity to step in. Hopefully, if all goes to plan, you should see the regular cast of commentators still returning, so we'll hopefully see next week back in time for Silverstone. What a track to return to, and you'll see your regular team but for now, I've got to say it has been an absolute pleasure once again. My name's been Sapsford. If you want to catch us or any of the work we do, say have a look out for Driveline Media and see where our name pops up from time to any broadcasting and say streaming any league out there. But enough of that. We'll see you next week over in Silverstone, British Grand Prix, round 6 of Champions Esports Series. Take care, everyone, and good night.